Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Manatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our NPL Season 7 Week 9 Team Builder and Match versus David, aka Magic, coach of the FC Popplio. If you've not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. Originally this team belonged to Seb, aka Top Tier Boy. However, he ended up dropping out earlier on in the season, and David decided to take over his team. And so we definitely have our work cut out for us. It is a pretty scary team, and without further ado, let us just go over his roster. So, on his roster, he has Mew, which is his Z user, Garchomp, Decidueye, Keldeo, Klefki, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Galvantula, Tornadus Incarnate, Houndoom, and Munchlax. So when you look at his team, definitely big threats on there. Tornadus Incarnate is a big issue. I don't have great flying resist on my team, so it was kind of just a problem. Flying is very spammable versus my team. Mew is always terrifying. I have no idea what type of Mew it's going to be. Yeah, I do have a Dark type in Tyranitar, but even then he could be he could have fighting coverage for it. Garchomp also always a problem. Keldeo is a big issue. I don't have the best things to deal with Keldeo, aside from Toxapex, which is a little bit of a difficult to bring because he does have things like Mega Swampert, which absolutely wreck me. And then he even has Webs, in order to potentially slow down my team and make his team be able to outspeed mine even without his Swift Sweepers. So that is his team. Like I said, it is very scary. However, I believe I've built a team of 6 that will be able to deal with whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. So without further ado, let us just get into his, let's get into our team. Starting off, we have our Tyranitar here. Going up against the Rain team, I felt like Tyranitar was absolutely necessary. Being able to immediately get rid of his rain just by switching this thing in and putting up the sand. Obviously, I don't want to hard switch into things like Pelipper or Swampert and whatnot to get rid of the rain, but with Tyranitar being around, I can send it in safely and then get rid of his rain, and then he has to send in his Pelipper at some point in order to get it back up, and he cannot hard switch his Pelipper in on my Tyranitar, obviously, because of my Rock Stab. Now, you're going to look at this Tyranitar. We are actually modest, fully specially offensive this week. The reason for that is, in addition to the Pasho Berry, is he has a lot of things that can potentially burn me. Obviously, it's a rain team, so he's going to have a good number of water types. The Mew can burn me with Will-O-Wisp, the Keldeo can burn me with Scald, although obviously Secret Sword will just knock me out. The Klefki will not be able to do status me whatsoever because he is Prankster and whatnot. Not that he can burn me anyway, because it's, you know, Thunder Wave is the thing, but regardless, he couldn't status me regardless. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Pelipper can burn me, obviously, with Scald. Mega Swampert, if he's a bulky Mega Swampert with Scald, he'll be able to do that. And even something like a Will-O-Wisp on Houndoom in order to deal with my Tyranitar could possibly be an issue. So I decided to go with the specially offensive variant, just so that if I do get burnt, it's not really that big of a deal, because I will be hitting things on the special side, which obviously burn does not affect. And then we are running the Pasho Berry because, again, he has a lot of water types on his team. He has a lot of water type coverage. You know, he could be running Waterfall on Mega Swampert in the rain, and I will be able to live that, which is really nice. He can run Scald or Hydro Pump on Keldeo, which is really cool, and I'll be able to live that. Same thing with Pelipper. I can relatively safely switch into Pelipper and take the Scald and then fire back an Ancient Power, which is really cool. You know, if he's like a Specs Keldeo, Hydro Pump won't be able to knock me out. Specs Hydro Pump from Pelipper in the rain will not be able to knock me out. Waterfall, like I said, from Swampert will not be able to knock me out. So this is a very important Mon versus this team. Hopefully it'll be able to put in some work. As you can see there, Ancient Power, Ice Beam, Earth Power, and Dark Pulse hit pretty much the entirety of his team. You know, Dark Pulse being able to 2-KO the Mew, Ice Beam for the Garchomp, Dark Pulse and Ice Beam for the Decidueye. I don't really hit the Keldeo all that hard, but Keldeo beats me 1v1 anyway, and I do at least break a potential substitute with Earth Power if I need to. Klefki I can hit with the Earth Power, Pelipper I hit with the Ancient Power. Mega Swampert again I don't hit super hard, but Dark Pulse will be able to do some damage, at least if he decides to hard switch it in. The Galvantula I hit with the Ancient Power, the Tornadus I hit with the Ancient Power, the Houndoom with the Ancient Power, and then Munchlax is a Munchlax, so we should be pretty good there. This is going to be our Tyranitar. Hopefully it'll be able to put in some work versus David's team, and now we're going to move on to the next member of our team, which is going to be our Mimikyu. So, as you can see here, we have Player Up, Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneaks. I'm pretty sure I've brought this moveset like every single week that I've brought Mimikyu, but like I've said last week and like every week, Fairy Ghost is just so spammable, and there's like very little reason for me to run anything else. I have some other ideas of what I may potentially bring, but these 4 moves are pretty much just always good. Like, you bring this and then you're pretty much destined to do a lot of work with it. This week, however, a little bit different. We are actually running the Lumberry instead of a Life Orb or instead of a Z Crystal. And the reason for that is, like I said earlier, he's got a good number of water types. He's got a good number of ways that he can potentially status me. Like, for example, his Klefki can go for a Thunder Wave onto me. His Pelipper can Scald me. His Tornadus can even confuse me with Hurricane if he wants to, or if he gets the opportunity to. I believe there's something else on his team I was afraid of statusing me, but regardless, Lumberry is just very, very useful in case I end up getting burnt, or in case the Klefki is able to paralyze me. Something along those lines, because if he's able to burn my Mimikyu, then it's a lot less useful. If I'm able to set up a little bit safer versus his team, I'm going to be a lot happier. You know, like, if he does end up burning me with that, like, I can set up safely in front of a Pelipper. You know, he won't be able to confuse me with Hurricane, and he won't be able to burn me with Scald, and if Rocks are up, I believe I knock it out with +2 player off, or at least I come very close. So it'll be able to give me a free setup without having to fear the potential of, like, a Klefki Thunder Wave, or like a Pelipper burn, or a Tornadus Hurricane confusion, and that's going to be very useful for me. I also don't really need the extra power. Like, when you look at his team, I knock everything out at +2, or just about everything at +2. You know, I knock out the Mew, I knock out the Garchomp, I knock out the Decidueye, the Keldeo, you know, all of those things I hit super effectively. At +2, I knock out the Houndoom. I believe +2 player up plus Shadow Sneak knocks out the Tornadus. Obviously, I'm not doing as much damage to Swampert, but I do have my response to Swampert, and I do need to weaken that thing a bit anyway before I'm able to knock it out with anything. But regardless, that is going to be our Mimikyu. Not too much to go into. I guess I'll go over the EV spread real quick. Because I am running Lumberry and I'm not running Life Orb or Z Crystal, I wanted to be adamant so I can get the extra power behind it. And something that I've noticed is if you put more HP or more bulk into Mimikyu, it tends to do a little bit better. You know, rather than just being Jolly Max Speed with no HP. This allows me to take hits relatively well. You know, I can take a non-Life Orb Hurricane from the Tornadus a little bit better. If my Disguise is broken, I can potentially take, like, an Earthquake from Garchomp from full, which is really, really nice. So this much HP is going to be very useful. The speed that I have is enough speed in case he decides to bring standard Tank Chomp. For example, I also outspeed Jolly Max Speed Decidueye with the set, so we'll have to go for Sucker Punch or be Scarf if he wants to hit me before I hit him. And yeah, that's our speed stat. Next up, we are going to be going over our Mega Lopunny. We have High Jump Kick, Return, Fake Out, and Baton Pass. These three moves relatively standard, and they work really, really well versus his team. We have Baton Pass mostly as a scouting mechanism. You know, he has potential switch-ins to this being his Mew. He has potential switch-in being maybe like a Fizdef Decidueye, maybe something along the lines of Fizdef Pelipper, even like a Fizdef Swampert, something along those lines. They can potentially switch those in. But this is a Pokemon that is going to force switches, so I can go for Baton Pass and gain myself initiative. And as you can see, we actually have Scyther on our team. We'll get over the set in a moment, but I do have U-Turn on the Scyther, so a lot of the things that switch into Lopunny, such as his Mew, such as his Decidueye, I can Baton Pass out into my Scyther, go for U-Turn, and just keep up a stream of momentum versus his team, which is going to be very, very nice. This is also a Pokemon that can still put in a lot of offensive pressure versus his team. Having Fake Out is also really nice. That way I can just stall out an extra turn of rain, which is very important. You know, like if he sends in Pelipper, I can fake it out. Even though he can take the hit, I'll fake him out, he'll flinch, and then he's down one turn of rain, which is very important. If he is more of an offensive Pelipper, I will be able to deal with it relatively well. With the speed investment that I have, I will be able to outspeed a timid max speed Pelipper. If he is Choice Scarf, which is really useful, I will be able to outspeed, I believe, a timid max speed or a Jolly max speed Scarf Decidueye, so that he cannot outspeed me and hit me with Brave Bird. So this is going to be a very useful Pokemon versus his team. Hopefully he'll be able to revenge kill the majority of his members. Also, what's nice is if he does bring Sash Galvantula, I can fake it out, make it flinch, and then knock it out with Return afterwards so that his Focus Sash is useless. And that is going to be our Mega Lopunny. Next up, we are going to be covering our Scyther, and this is going to be a bit of a different set that I've been bringing. Usually I've been bringing offensive variants of Swords Dance and whatnot. However, this is going to be a bulkier set of Scizor, Aerial Ace, U-Turn, Defog, and Roost. This is meant to be a bulky pivot. I can switch into Swampert relatively well. The only thing he can really 2-KO me with is Stone Edge, and I believe maybe Waterfall in the Rain, but even then I believe that's a roll, and he has to be max attack. which is really nice. This is a good switch into the Decidueye. Unless he has Brave Bird, he's not going to be able to touch me. He has to have Stone Edge on his Garchomp in order to really touch me. I outspeed the Mew, which is really nice, and I can get super effective damage with U-turn off onto him. I do outspeed the Houndoom, so I can U-turn on him before he hits me with a fire move, and I am going to be able to take advantage of his own rain. If the rain is up, he will not be able to knock me out with Fire Blast, which is really cool. I deal with the Keldeo relatively well, and I say relatively well just because I'll be able to take any hit from it and hit it with an Aerial Ace. If it's a sub-variant, I'll be able to break its sub. If it's not a sub-variant, Aerial Ace will put it in range of an attack from my Lopunny, which is really nice, or an attack from my Mimikyu, which is really useful. This is just a very good bulky pivot, like I said, and we are actually running Defog this week. And the reason why we are doing that is because webs are pretty scary, webs are a bit of an issue. If he gets webs up versus my team, it's a huge problem. Garchomp becomes a huge issue. If there are webs up on my side of the field, Keldeo becomes an enormous issue. So I'd really just rather not have webs up on my side of the field. I didn't really need other coverage versus his team. Flying Bug is pretty much all I need. You know, I'm hitting everything at least neutrally, which is cool, and I hit a lot of things super effectively. I obviously don't hit the Klefki, but Scyther doesn't really get anything in its arsenal to hit Klefki unless I'm running something like Natural Gift, which I do not want to run because then I lose out on the bulk that a Violet gives me. So that is going to be our Scyther. Next up, we are going to cover our Reuniclus, and this again is a relatively standard set, but not bringing Calm Mind in the past has kind of screwed me, and this is a game where Calm Mind can be super useful just because I do deal with a lot on his team. Mew can obviously run Taunt, but even then I'd still hit it super effectively with a Shadow Ball, and I'd be able to gauge his set, which is very nice. Being physically defensive, if his Garchomp is not offensive, I'll be able to take whatever hit he wants to go for. I can take hits from the Decidueye, not super happily depending on his set, but I can take them at least and hit him with super effective Shadow Ball. After a Calm Mind, I do beat Keldeo always. If he is not Specs, then I'll beat it regardless. Assuming it's 1v1, like he can hit me with a Hydro Pump, I'll take it, I'll go for Calm Mind, I'll live the next hit, and I can recover up, which is nice. Mega Swampert I can deal with relatively well, not amazingly, but he cannot 2-KO me unless the rain is up, which is nice. Galvantula does obviously deal with me, but I don't expect Galvantula to be around all that long, just because it's more than likely if he brings it, he'll be like a suicide lead. The Tornado, same thing, if I get a Calm Mind up, I can beat it 1v1. The Houndoom, once I get up a couple Calm Minds, it will not be able to beat me. So there's potential for this mon to exist. Obviously, there are a bunch of sets on his team that can beat this. However, this is going to be very nice in combination with my Lopunny, just because a lot of the things that Lopunny pressures are what can potentially stop Reuniclus. Like if you Spadef Mew, then my Lopunny will be able to do a lot of damage to it. You know, my Scyther can deal with it by going for U-turn and whatnot. Things that can threaten it, for example, like the Galvantula. My Lopunny can hit, my Ferrothorn can set up Hazard versus my my Mimikyu can Shadow Sneak to potentially break its Sash or just to knock it out if it's low. So this set of Reuniclus actually does have a lot of potential, even though it may not look like it on paper. But with that being said, we are now going to move on to the last member of our team, and that is going to be Ferrothorn. Now, this is going to be 100% my best switch into the Swampert, as it's not 2-KO'd by anything that Swampert wants to do. We are fully physically defensive. We got Power Whip, Knockoff, Thunder Wave, and Stealth Rock. Power Whip is just super useful for all of his water types. Things like Mega Swampert, things like the Keldeo, even things like the Pelipper I can hit it with if he tries to roost my my Power Whip becomes super effective. As you can see, we also have Knockoff. Knockoff is very useful for being able to knock off items such as Mew's item. If he's not a Z Crystal, I'll find it out. If he is, I will find that out as well. Can knock off the Garchomp on coming in, see what he has, Life Orb, you know, Dragon Fang, Rocky Helmet, whatever, I'll be able to get rid of it. I'll be able to knock off the Decidueye when it comes in, and then I'll be able to T-Wave it or set up rocks versus it, since he will not be able to deal with me very well. Ferrothorn, once again, similarly to Scyther, will be taking advantage of the fact that he has rain, so I will be taking fire hits a lot less hard, which is really useful. I resist water anyway, so it won't be hitting me all that hard, and being able to take fire hits is really nice. I'll be able to take hidden power fires from things. I'll be able to take flamethrowers, fire blast from Houndoom. I'll be able to take fire blast from Garchomp even better, like hidden power fire from Pelipper if he wants to do that, hidden power fire from Galvantula if he wants to do that. I can take all of it. Being physically defensive with a Chople Berry, I can take a Secret Sword from Keldeo, no problem, and hit him with a Power Whip or a Thunder Wave, which is really nice. If he is Superpower on his Swampert, I'll be able to live that easily, and I will be able to knock him out with Power Whip. If he has like Focus Blast on Tornadus, I'll be able to live it and then hit him with a knockoff or go for a Thunder Wave onto it. So this is just a very, very useful Pokemon versus this team, being able to take hits left and right from super effective damage, from neutral damage, from whatever. I'll be able to hit something hard with the Power Whip, knock off an item, go for a Thunder Wave, cripple potentially like the Tornadus coming in, which would be wonderful, or very importantly just set up Stealth Rock so I can chip away at his team. So that is going to be the team versus David. Now we are going to be moving on to the match, so don't go anywhere, we will be right back. Okay, and here we are. This is going to be our Week 9 game versus Magic. Just for a quick recap, we are currently 4-4, and we are fighting for a playoff spot. If we win this game, we will be in a very, very good position in order to potentially take a playoff spot away from somebody else, so we are really looking to win this game. As you can see, David decided to bring his Keldeo, Mew, Mega Swampert, Tornadus, Garchomp, and Pelipper, so it looks like he did decide to bring the rain element of his team, but that is okay because I do have my counters to it. Looking at his team, once I'm able to get rid of the Mew, my Lopunny is going to have a lot of fun. Lopunny does naturally outspeed everything that he decided to bring. If he is a Choice Scarf Pelipper, I will be able to outspeed that. If he is a Choice Scarf Keldeo, that's a little bit annoying for my team, but it's good setup fodder for something like Reuniclus. And if he's locked in a Secret Sword, then that allows me to go out into my Mimikyu in order to deal with him. Speaking of Mimikyu, that is also a huge threat versus his team. I'll be able to deal with the Mew relatively well. Again, I am Lumberry, so it doesn't matter if he burns me, doesn't matter if the Keldeo burns me, doesn't matter if the Pelipper burns me, I'll just be able to deal with it. And I can set up versus a few different members of his team, which is really nice. Because he does have the rain, the Tyranitar is going to be very useful. He does have a lot of water spam, so hopefully that'll come into, the Pastel Berry will come into play. And again, like, his team is relatively walled by Ferrothorn. Since I am Fizdef, I can take on the Swampert, and because I'm Chople, I can take Secret Swords from this thing. With his own rain, I'll take Fire Blast from the Garchomp, I'll take Fire Blast from you if he has it. You know, random hidden power fires that happen to exist. But without further ado, let us just hop into the game. So I'm actually going to lead with my Tyranitar as he leads with his Tornadus. And what I'm going to do is, knowing that he's going to switch out, because there's no way he'd risk me being Choppleberry or being Scarf and hitting him with a Stone Edge, I'm just going to go right for the Ancient Power, which, as you're going to see here, hits the Swampert on switching. He's not going to take a lot of damage from that, and he is now going to, or I'm now going to switch out into my Scyther as he Mega Evolves and goes right for the Stealth Rock. And I do not want these up, so what I'm just going to do is go right for the Defog. And as you're going to see, he's going to go right for the Waterfall, and that's not actually going to do a lot of damage to Scyther. Again, I am relatively bulky with the Eviolite, so it's good to be able to take that. I'm just going to go for the Roost here in order to get myself back up to full. He, once again, is going to go for his Rocks. And actually, on this turn, I decide to go right for the U-turn, because I don't want him switching out into something, and I realize that this is kind of a losing battle. He can just keep getting up his rocks and whatnot. So, I'm going to U-turn on out, and I'm going to go right out into my Mega Lopunny, and Fake Out plus Return will knock out this Tornadus, so he is going to switch right out into his Pelipper, which I do not mind because I can gauge damage. And based on this Fake Out damage, it's revealed that he is actually going to be a more offensive variant, which is nice for me because if he is Scarf, again, I do outspeed it, so I'll just go for the Baton Pass here as he does send out his Swampert, and I go right out into my Ferrothorn, and he's going to go right for the Superpower, which I do eat up completely because of the Choppleberry and because of me being Fizdef, and I will be able to get at my Rocks. And now, expecting him to want to switch out, being at -1 defense and being weak to my Ferrothorn, I am going to go right for this knockoff, which does smack the what's it called? The Garchomp, getting rid of its Yache Berry, which wouldn't have been too big. I don't really have ice coverage on my team bar the Tyranitar, but because he allows me to smack his Garchomp with the Power Whip, he is now in range of the majority of my team. So he's going to go for the Earthquake, knocking me out. Debated going to Scyther, but Scyther actually didn't have a good chance to kill with Aerial Ace, so I just let my Ferrothorn go down. It did its job, and I can go out into my Mega Lopunny and knock him out with the Return. So that is one big threat gone. He is now going to go right out into his Mew, and I am just going to hard switch, not wanting to risk him being Random Scarf or being Vacuum Wave, right out into my Scyther as he does go for the Drain Punch, expecting me to go into my Tyranitar, plus if I stayed in, I'd be taking a lot of damage anyway, so good switch on my part. As you can see here, I'm just going to go for U-turn. I don't mind there being rocks up, since they are up on both sides of the field, so I'm just going to U-turn on out. I'll save my my Scyther for fodder later on, and I do go out into my Mega Lopunny, which will be able to knock this Swampert out with Fake Out plus High Jump Kick. Based on the Fake Out damage, he was actually a little bit bulky. However, again, it wasn't really a roll. I was going to be able to knock him out there. And here, I guess he thought he outsped me, because he's going to go right out into his Pelipper. But because, again, I am Jolly and I do have a lot of speed, I will be able to knock him out outspeed him, which is really nice. And now he's going to go out into his Keldeo as I do sack off my Scyther, which is very nice for me. That means that I can get a free switch out into my Mimikyu, as he does actually reveal the Combine and the leftovers, so he was not scarfed. However, again, I can just go out into my Mimikyu, click Play Rough, and be able to knock him out or put him in range of the Shadow Sneak. I do have the Lumberry, so I don't mind if he burns me. As you can see, he does not burn me. We do Play Rough, and it does quite a bit of damage, and now we can just follow up with the Shadow Sneak and knock him out, which is really nice for me, because now he is forced out into his Tornadus, and because, again, I do have the Lumberry, I will live the Hurricane, I will get confused, and then the confusion will go away. He is actually Life Orb, but because I do have that extra HP on Mimikyu, we will be able to live the Hurricane easily, and now he is in range of the Shadow Sneak, which is exactly what I go for, but he does not go down without first getting up the Tailwind, which is a bit of an issue, but it's not the biggest issue in the world. I'm going to go for Shadow Claw here, or no, I'm going to go for Shadow Sneak here just to potentially 2 kill him, as he does go for the Zen Headbutt. But now at this point, I do have my Reuniclus. He appears to be physical, so there shouldn't be too much he can do. He actually does have the Leech Life, which is kind of scary, but that's still going to be doing less than half to me, and I'm going to be able to get the Spadef drop onto this Mew. So I will then be able to go for the next Shadow Ball, and even though he is going to recover himself up a little bit, I will be able to go for Shadow Ball and just knock him out, which makes this a 3-0 victory for us, the Tampa Bay Luxrays, over the FC Popplio. The FC Popplio. So good game to David. By the way, if there's a lot of jump cuts in there, jump cuts in this video, my asthma is just not being very nice to me, and I just have to keep stopping just to breathe. But regardless, that shouldn't be a problem for the rest of the video. David played pretty well. The Pelipper, going into Pelipper on my low punny was definitely a mistake. I knew he was offensive earlier on from the fake out damage. I knew return would kill. I knew that I would outspeed even a Scarf variant, so I'm not exactly sure why he went into that. I feel like my prep was just really good. All the safety measures that I put onto my team ended up working. You know, the Chapel Berry onto Ferrothorn worked perfectly. The Lumberry on the Mimikyu ended up coming into play, and that was really, really nice, just because if he was able to confuse me, that could have been a pretty big issue. He would have been able to switch out his Tornadus for later, or set up a Tailwind versus my Lopunny, which could have led to a problem. The Tyranitar ended up being kind of nice. It didn't really come into play all that much, because his Rain was not available to him for most of the game. Like, it didn't really come into play, but, you know, it contributed and it was nice. The Scyther, just again, being a bulky pivot, being able to take hits and then U-turn out, annoyed his team early on with Defog. It was really nice, because he didn't bring webs. Defog wasn't as important, but, you know, I went for it a couple times to try and get rid of the rocks, but we both ended up having rocks on the field, and rocks hurt him a lot more than they hurt me, so I was fully okay with that. The team just performed well, and I'm very happy with how I played this week. So we are in a very good spot for playoffs. We still have another game to go. Next week we are going up against Blake, aka Moxie and Fernape, so hopefully you guys will tune in for that. Regardless, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next game.